In this lesson, I'm going to be constructing a 2D floor plan based on this drawing. So first thing I need to do is set up AutoCAD correctly. So if you go ahead and open up AutoCAD normally, and it doesn't give you the option of changing any of the settings, what you want to do is go to the command line, and you're going to type in startup, and then press enter. And so you want to change it to 1, or type in 1, and then press enter. And then what you have to do is actually close out AutoCAD and open it back up. And when you open it back up, after doing that, you should see these options here. So what we're going to do is go to the quick setup, and we're going to change some of the default items here. So we're going to select architecture. And then this is essentially the working area. It's really all not that important. This is going to be 60 feet by 40 feet. All right. And then there's some other things we're going to want to do here. So for example, we want to change the drafting settings. And this is really your own preference. I generally don't have the snap on. It can make things a little bit difficult, but I will turn for the architecture this adaptive grid off, and then we're going to select 2D model space. I'll select OK. And the other thing is, before you leave here, maybe go to the object snap and the polar tracking above here and just verify the midpoint. And this is really my preference. And I always like to have, and you should have the polar tracking on. All right, and you see all the dots there? That's the grid. And if you haven't figured that out already, you want to have the show menu bar. Gives you a lot more features here. And so then let's go ahead to the multi-line. And this is actually, what it does is it creates 2 lines instead of 1. And this would be for a wall. So we're going to say new, and we're going to call this wall. Continue. And so what this is essentially is a way, right now if you see it's at 0.5 and minus 0.5, that means it's a 10-inch wall. But we want to have a 5-inch wall. All right, so we're going to type in 5-inch wall with end caps. All right, so the end caps essentially, if you look behind the screen, what's happening is it's closing that off. Right, so we're going to have in the beginning and in the end. And then the other thing we need to do is you select on the offset, and we're going to change it from 0.5, excuse me, to 2.5. I'm sorry, so that was 1 inch before. So we want to make sure it's 2.5 and minus 2.5. All right, and then make sure that you select set current. If you don't select set current, it's going to give you a very odd shaped wall that doesn't work. And so this is a 5-inch thick wall. So it's very important that you do that. All right, and then let's go to our toolbars, AutoCAD, and you'll notice if you go down to the object snap. Now, I'm not a big fan of this. It never actually seems to work all that well for me, but some people have better luck than I seem to. But this exercise does use it. I'm going to show you some ways around it, though. All right, so I've turned the grid off here of my top. And so let's go ahead and start building this. And so you go to Draw, and you select the multi-line. Now, you want to look at this justification. And it's kind of funny because there's top and bottom, and in reality, we're going to be working in the scale. We're going to leave it at 1. So we're going to type in the starting point here, which is going to be at 0, 0, and we're going to point the mouse in the left direction, and we're going to then type in our dimensions. And so if you look here, I've started where that door is opening. It's 11'6", and then it's 25 feet 6 inches up and 30 feet over. Now you can actually type this in inches, but what you do to make this work is you type in 11 feet dash and then 6. You don't need to put the 6 inches because it defaults to inches anyway. So AutoCAD always defaults to inches. So now when I'm going up, I'm going to type in 25 feet dash 6, enter. And then I'm simply going to move the mouse to the right. It's on that polar snap. So then I'll go ahead and type in 30 feet. Oh, I'm sorry. So that's actually 25 feet, 11 inches. Yeah. So I'd make accommodation for the, so I'm looking at my drawing as I go here. All right, so you're going to really, it's important that you look at your drawing. Now, this is a really tricky thing here, and I'm never really all that good at it. So let's go ahead and do our dimensions first. And you'll notice they're if depending on your settings, they're really small. So there's a kind of a trick to this. Let's go into our dimension style. We're going to modify this. Now, we're going to change this. We're going to change this to architecture. And so in the primary units, it's default to decimal. We're going to go to architecture. Now, the funny thing is, if I just do it here, it's not going to work. If you remember how small it was. So this is really helpful. This scales everything, the spaces, the arrows. So I've done this. I already know I need to scale this up by 30. So I'm going to change 30. It changes all the spacing. Otherwise, you have to manually do that. And so there's that 25 foot 11 inches that we put in. So that is about the scale I want. It looks good. So now let's go ahead and just confirm the dimensions that I've of the wall here. And I'm trying to do this in a manner that reflects what my final drawing is going to look like. All right, so that should be 25 foot dash 6. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add that little gap for the door. It's a 3-foot gap to AutoCAD. We've got this object snap. And so I'm going to, the way this works is you go to the object snap and you've completed the lesson.